Hello, I'm SB Moores. This is my first YouTube video, and I just wanted to make something Malazan related, just because I see so many Malazan videos on YouTube, and I see so many posts on the subreddit, and people talking about it online, and I love Malazan, so I wanted to contribute in my own way. Um, I was thinking about what to do, what would be best for a first video, first post kind of thing. And I actually already made a post about this to the Malazan subreddit. It was a little analysis I did on poem in Reaper's Gale, one of the epigraph poems that I thought would be if I'm gonna make a video, might as well go in with a bang. Hopefully not go, well, hopefully I do go out with a bang, but hopefully not anytime soon. But I figured that I thought that was my strongest argument, my strongest analysis on anything. It wasn't really an argument, I guess, but I guess you could dispute the stuff that I said. So I guess maybe in a weird way it was an argument, but I'm not too practiced in literary analysis or anything like that, but Malazan's really interesting in that way, especially the Malazan Book of the Fallen. I've read up to about I've read up to Reaper's Gale, and I've read the first chapter of Return of the Crimson Guard. Obviously, I've read Knight of Knives. And then I have a couple Botchelene and Corbel novellas sitting in my shelf waiting to get read, along with a million other books from Malazan and unrelated series. But yeah, so I figured that would just be a good start. So the poem in specific is in Reaper's Gale. It is chapter 15. It's the epigraph for it. It's called The Coming Storm, written by Refer. So I will so the poem is The Coming Storm by Refer. It's right at the beginning of chapter 15 of Reaper's Gale, which is the chapter where the Letheri, in specific Tribe and Knoll, finds out about the Malachian invasion of Lether against the Tysetter. Also, Karsa Orlong and Ikariam Lifestealer have a little bit of a tussle. I mean, it doesn't really, nothing comes of it, and Ikariam just gives his blessing that Karsa Orlong gets to fight the Emperor of a Thousand Deaths, Rulad first as a champion, which is really cool, I must add. And I feel like one more thing happens in this chapter. Oh, Rulad also condemns his mother and father to the dungeons for treating the Teist Eder that they found in other lands poorly. And obviously, this is full spoilers for Reaper's Gale, I should mention. It Him doing that obviously kills them in the end, kind of offhandedly in a weird way, because they end up it's just an offhanded comment by a character that they're gonna drown, and as the or it's an offhanded comment by the narrator at some point, I believe, close to the end of the book, that they drown in their prison cell. I mean, we know that the foundation of the Eternal Domicile isn't uh too safe, especially with Bug's Construction working on that. So uh, I'm going to do a short reading of the poem in the way that I read it, which, everyone is going to read it a little bit differently, a little bit of a different rhythm, a little different cadence, probably. But, I read it in the way that makes sense to me, tonally wise, especially considering what happens in this chapter, what happens in other chapters. And because of something in the poem about halfway through, I'm also going to point out I think that a lot of this, or at least the first half of the poem, has a lot to do with Midnight Tides as well. Obviously, Tides is kind of the coming storm in a way. I'll talk about the title before I read it. The Coming Storm. Reaper's Gale, as with a lot of the Malazan books, I mean, as with every book, sort of, comes to a climax. But Reaper's Gale in specific, especially with Malazan in general, with all the myriad plot threads and plot lines going on, and characters in different places doing different things that all tangentially, or maybe they don't even relate to each other sometimes. They're just they're very tangential. They're just part of the whole of the story, or a part of the message that's going on, or the themes. And but at the end of Reaper's Gale, there's definitely a big convergence. Obviously, a big theme in Malazan is the convergences that happen. I mean, all throughout the series. I mean, I think the end of Memories of Ice is a great example of that, with everything going on there. What else is good? Midnight Tides, obviously. I mean, that's just that has a great Avalanche ending. But I think Reaper's Gale has the most like it really builds up. It's like a snowball towards the end, and I feel like Coming Storm is a pretty apt title in terms to relate to the text as well for the poem itself, but to relate to the text because a lot of Reaper's Gale is Coming Storm, and specifically this chapter that it comes before is definitely a coming. It's like the head of the storm. People realizing that there's a coming storm. It's like at this point the weather vane's starting to spin, and everyone's realizing that something's about to go down. Obviously, Tribe and Knowles informed that the Malazans are here. Probably the scariest thing an empire or a kingdom could ever hear is that the Malazans have landed on their shore. They're employing those guerrilla warfare tactics they so love to use, especially on a in this book, sweeping through the countryside, sowing dissent and insurrection among the Letheri, even if that doesn't work exactly how they're planning for it to. But, I think that that relates to the text really well. And then, since I said it relates to Midnight Tides as well, I mean, Midnight Tides is a coming, I mean, all the way back in House of Chains when we see the nascent for the first time. It's like, well, what's going on with that? We have this realm that's flooded with water and we don't know why, and there's Teist Eder chaining Troll Sengar to a wall, to the verge, or I think is what it's called in the Nascent. And there's that whole big question of how that realm get that way. Why are there just Teist Eder going around? I think don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure in Dead House Gates they mentioned that people sort of know that the Teist Andi exist and the Teist Leosian are mythical, thought to not even exist. Their names aren't really known, and the Teist Eder are sort of the same way. But obviously there's Taste Eder other places of the world, and we see Troll in House of Chains with Onrak. Great character duo, by the way. But yeah, so that's just a preliminary reading. I mean, the coming storm, it can relate to numerous things. I mean, I think the most storm-like thing that's coming in Midnight Tides would be the sea god that Hanan Mosag imprisons and sends to Lether. Obviously, they freeze that lake in front of Kineso and Herboot Headbutt. Um, I know I got that name wrong, but I don't want to lose my page. But yeah, that's definitely one interesting coming storm that's going to be occurring in Reaper's Gale. I mean, the Teist Eder coming down from their lands to take over the the Lether right as they're about to become an empire, right as the seventh closure's happening, and then I mean, I think even more meta, not meta, but maybe horror coming storm throughout the entirety of the series is, I mean, the Crippled God's plans coming to fruition. I mean, he sends the sword down for Hanan Mosag, and then Rulad gets it, and that works out great because Rulad becomes the like a corpse emperor. He's he's going crazy just like the Crippled God is. I mean, uh, as we can see time and time again, the Crippled God's expert in getting people just like him in charge of big operations. So, I mean, pretty sure he had a lot to do with the Panyan Domin and all that. But I'll get to the actual reading now. I think that's about all the. I think that's a exhaustive list of things going on with the title at this point. So here's the poem. Crawl down, sun. This is not your time. Black waves slide under the sheathed moon. Upon the shore, a silent storm, a will untamed, heaves up from the red-scurled foam. Scud to your mountain nests, you iron clouds, to leave the sea its dancing refuse of stars on this host of salty midnight tides. Gather drawn and swell tight your tempest, lift like scaled heads from the blind depths. All your effulgent might and restless roving eyes. Reel back, you tottering forests, this night. The black waves crash on black shore to steal the flesh from your bony roots. Death comes, shouldering aside in cold legion. In a marching wind, this dread, this blood, this reaper's gale. Me personally, the way that I read it, it just evokes such like maybe a little chanty. I don't think that's the way it's meant to be read. The way that certain words I feel really pound home in it, especially, that final line, the final two lines in a marching wind, this dread, this blood, this reaper's gale. Obviously, one of the most interesting things, and it's one of the reasons I chose to really look at this poem a little longer and a little more in depth, is because the last line is what I believe gives the name for the book, Reaper's Gale, which is obviously very indicative of the ending of Reaper's Gale, which I would hope you've read it if you're watching this video. Like I said, full spoilers for every part. I'll go into depth all the way to the end of Reaper's Gale, but all the way to like literally the very last scene, I think. But and then other specific areas like scud to your mountain nests, you iron clouds. I feel like there's supposed to be a lot of oomph on the emphasis there. At least that's how I read it. But it's written very well. I really like the way that it's written. There are no uh, punctuation of any kind except for an M dash at one point to combine red scrolled, which is very interesting. I'll get to that, but I'm gonna go line by line just because that's how I analyzed it on the Reddit post that I made on the Malazan subreddit, which was a joy to make, and it's the reason I want to make this video. So, the first line: "Crawl down, son. This is not your time." I think that the imagery there is pretty dark. I mean, it's saying that this is not a time for the sun. The sun needs to go away. It needs to crawl down, down beyond the horizon. Um, that gives, evokes imagery of darkness, the night, shadows maybe. And I know that shadows and darkness have a lot more nuance when it comes to the Malazan Book of the Fallen and other adjacent Malazan series, and probably especially Carcanus, which I haven't read yet. But there's a little more nuance in the meanings there. I'm not quite at the point where I fully understand everything. I feel like I got to finish the series and maybe read Carcanus for that to Carcanus for that to make a little bit more sense. But I think that the imagery, if we're going with a very baseline, I feel like we also gotta think about we don't know who wrote, well, we know who wrote the poem. It's a guy called Refer, but we don't know who he is. He could be Tice Eder, he could be Litheri, he could be Volcando for all we know. He could be from the Volcando kingdoms all the way to the southeast, but or he could be Malazan. I mean, we really don't know. I mean, it's just a fantasy name given at the given as a title for this guy. But I think it sounds a little Letheri in its name. I mean, the Letheri names can kind of go all over the place. You got people like Briss Bedict, and then you got Karos and Vicdad, who will come up a lot in this discussion. Maybe not a lot, but he will come up. But I think that we should take it as a very human way of looking at darkness and shadow and night. So I think the telltale imagery of darkness, the night, bad things happen at the night. It's dangerous. You don't know what's out there in the darkness and the shadows. I think that's a fairly good assumption to make for that really sets the tone, in my opinion, for this poem. That it's a dark thing. It's a dreadful thing. I mean, this dread, this blood, this reaper's gale. Um, the next line reads, "Black waves slide under the sheathed moon." Sheathed moon, it's really reinforcing it. The moon is sheathed, it's gone, you can't see it, there's no light coming off of it. Maybe it's dark. This could relate all the way back to but the bone hunters when the moon breaks apart from the jade statues falling, and it becomes murky and looks like a spider web and isn't as bright. So you know, it could make you think of that. That could be considered foreshadowing, maybe. In a, I mean, the poem's not the foreshadowing. The moon breaking apart, getting murkier. That could definitely give those vibes of the world is entering a darker era with all the stuff that's happening. I mean, I would definitely say that the Letheri Empire is not a good place to be at this moment. Patriotists, uh, you know, torturing a ton of people and making a ton of arrests, and the Emperor's crazy. I mean, he tortures people. He sends his parents into a prison to drown. He just forgets about them, and I mean, the Chancellor Tribunal. I mean, he's described at the back of the book as Machiavellian, and I think that that is a great way to describe him. He's definitely an evil dude. I mean, especially with the things that he does. I mean, we know that he does terrible things to children and calls it love, which is just terrible. I mean, Tribunal, not a good guy. And it really speaks to the way that the Letheri system is in this book, being generally, manipulative, very an encroaching power that sort of creeps up on you and then takes a grasp that you can't get rid of. I mean, the Tystet are affected heavily by it when they take over. In a way, they might have become the rulers, but the Letheri are still on top. They won the Secret War in a weird way in this book. So and then black wave sliding. I mean, black waves. I mean, sea imagery appears all the time in Malazan, especially in Midnight Tides and Reaper's Gale. I mean, it makes sense considering that their kingdom heavily borders the ocean. I mean, I guess you could make that same argument for Seven Cities, but a lot of the books on Seven Cities are in the Odhans and the cities and the deserts. And I mean, Letheris itself, I mean, they got a huge spring well in the on Letheris, and it's a city of canals like Venice. So, the sea imagery has to pop up. And as we all know, our favorite manservant bug is the elder god of the seas, male, known throughout the world. I mean, we know that his Gistal high priest, Gistal is a high priest, Malakrel. I mean, I'm pretty sure he's from the Falari Isles, the Falar subcontinent north of Quantali, if I'm not mistaken, but he is a high priest of Mal, just all. So, I mean, he's known throughout the world. So the imagery comes up everywhere, but it's most evident here because he's in Letheris. And then the next line reads, Upon the shore, a silent storm, a will untamed. Now, I relate this to the text me personally, I related it to the text very heavily. Upon the shore, a silent storm, a will untamed, to mean multiple things. There's multiple characters and events that could relate to. I mean, who's just come upon the shore? Obviously, we know the Malazans have just come here, and I would say that the Malazan will, especially with the 14th Army, with the Bone Hunters, is a will that is untamed. I mean, you could point even closer to characters like Sin. She doesn't really do anything in this book. Actually, no, she does a lot in this book. She stops a series of glaciers shifting in the north from completely destroying Fent Reach. If that's not a silent storm, I don't know what is. I mean, she is powerful. She's a high mage, a very young high mage, and I mean, what she did at Yucatan was pretty epic. I mean, that was really cool. Um, but it refers to a plethora of characters like her. Icarium is the definition of a silent storm, a will untamed. His I mean, we know and see time and time again that he is a legendary figure. He's known throughout the world, even in places disconnected from other areas of regions. I mean, the Teblor have legends about him as a demon. And he put that I forget her name. I want to say that it's no Pearl. Pearl might be a different character. I might be thinking of a Claw. Um, Calm, Calm. Yes, I'm pretty sure that's it. He puts the Fork Sail Calm under that boulder in the near the later on plateau. So that's interesting. And then he's a silent storm, obviously. I mean, we see what he does at the end of the Bone Hunters. We know that he's earth shattering power. It's been said throughout this book that he is a force to be reckoned with. I mean, the biggest fear that a lot of characters have is that if he fights Rulad, who cannot die, the entire continent will get burned to the ground from their battle. And I mean, to be respectful to Rulad, I know he's a great swordsman and that, he can't die. And I know that's magical in sense. He doesn't have any magic himself from what we've seen. I mean, I don't see him tapping into the Warrens, Cruald Emerlon, the fragments of it very often, or any of the other Warrens. I mean, obviously he uses the chaos power that the crippled god has in his sword to revive himself, but I feel like if they did fought, most of that battle is going to be him getting blasted away, cut to pieces by an enraged Icarium who's going to stalk off to go kill more people, and then he comes back up screaming in terror because what is he going to do against this guy? He's not going to fight him. You're not even going to get close to him to fight. He's going to push you over with the waves of power coming out from him, and then he's gonna slice you to bits. I mean, that's one of the things that makes Malazan so cool. You got all this, you got these powerful characters that have a lot of good themes going on with them as well. They're not just powerhouses. Icarium's story is harrowing with a Mappo. Mappa run, and it's great. But he's definitely a Silent Storm, a Will Untamed, and then maybe not the Will Untamed part because we don't know anything about them for most of this book. Uh, but there's definitely a Silent Storm happening on the Eastern Front. The All, they're not silent, but the secret army that landed there, and Tok's army had landed there, which were they were the Grey Swords of the Grey Swords, the Grey Helms. Um, they were the people in Memories of Ice with Itkovian, the Shield Anvil, and Brookhalion, the mortal sword of Fenrir. But now they, as we know, they were sworn to Tog and Fandere of the Beasthold, New Gods of War. But I definitely say that theirs is a Will Untamed. If any of the previous characters that were a part of their army are any indication, I mean, Itkovian, I am not done. What a great character. Really sad to see him go at the end of Memories of Ice. But continuing on that, they're definitely a Silent Storm. And the Refugium, nobody knows about what's happening there. I mean, how many characters know about that? The few Talon, or sorry, the few Immis that are there, the Talon Immis that have arrived, probably the Crippled God, obviously, Menendor, Suko Ankadu, and Sheltatha Lor, Quickben, Cholsengar, and who traveled with them? Onrak. How could I forget that? That's definitely a Silent Storm. Everything going there, the conflagration, and then obviously the quest for the soul of Scavendari Bloodeye. It is kind of known to the Letheri and the Teist Eder and the Crippled God. They even make mention that the Crippled God eventually wants them to go east, but just not yet. Um, which is definitely interesting. That's a Silent Storm. I mean, not many people know about it. It's a whirlwind, not the same kind going on in Seven Cities. Even though there's a little bit of crossover with Ikariam going there. I mean, Ikariam walked the path of hands. Um, but now back to the poem. There's a lot of Silent Storms going on in it, and then especially with Midnight Tides as well. That whole book is a silent storm to the rest of the world. I mean, the Lether continent is completely cut off from the rest of the world. I mean, I think it's Shirkalal who says it at some point that it's actually kind of a backwater area of the world. The rest of the world has moved on in terms of warfare technology, especially with the magic. I mean, the holds aren't a thing anywhere else. I mean, death itself is different in Lether because uh the death hold, the hold of death hasn't really formed, and Hood can't collect souls. That's why there's so many undead like Shirkalal. And that's definitely interesting. It's definitely a Silent Storm for the rest of the world. I mean, it's the Malazan book, The Fallen, and it's focusing on this. The fifth book completely focuses on a continent that the Malazans have no contact with and don't even know exists. So obviously, it's a Silent Storm that is important. Maybe not obvious, but I drew the connection um, when I decided to go through and read this poem a little closer. Um, Heaves up from the red scrolled foam. Now that line is really interesting to me, because I mean the red foam imagery, tides of blood. That's the immediate draw parallel that I drew. Heaving up. I mean, it's coming. It's coming in torrents. It's coming. It's heaving. There's a lot of it. Interestingly enough, I don't know if this is just me having bad vocabulary, as with many people my age from time to time I've noticed, but I didn't know what scrolled meant, and I had to look it up, and I think the definition is like a high preening, keening noise, kind of like what you'd hear from a bagpipes. But I didn't know that when I read it. And we'll go with the definition for a second. Well, I'll run with it. I mean, high pitched, keening, bagpipe like noise. I could akin that to screeching, which I mean, that usually involves, you're usually screeching if something bad happens, if there's a fight. I don't hear many people screeching when something happy happens. Usually it's they're bellowing in joy or something, or they're laughing. They're not screeching, they're skirling, making a skirling noise. But I didn't know what skirling meant, or skirled meant, and I had to look it up. And one of the things that came up was a post that somebody made on the Malazan subreddit asking the same definition, asking the same question I did. And a lot of the responses were people giving the actual definition, and then some people saying that possibly the author, Stephen Erickson, created the word. as more of like it just sounds right, sort of, and it evokes a certain imagery or tactile feeling, which is what I got when I read it because I didn't know the definition. And that definitely gave me the idea that skirled in this instance kind of reminds me of a winding, spinning motion, like the ebb and flow of a tide, perhaps, which, just more imagery of midnight tides before we actually get. I'm not even halfway done. This is dragging a little long. Thank you for sticking with. I know I can be a little long-winded describing these things, but that's definitely something, and I really enjoyed that word choice. And then the next line, "Scud to your mountain nests, you iron clouds." To me, this is very indicative of the. I took this as showing the sort of the empathy that rides throughout the series. I mean, "Scud to your nest, you iron clouds." Scud is kind of a harsh word for this, but when you combine the next bit with it, "to leave the sea its dancing refuse of stars on this host of salty midnight tides." Obviously, the thing that the places is happening are midnight tides. And excuse me. It's telling the clouds to scud away. They need to leave. Iron clouds. I mean, that just reminds me of the beginning of storm clouds. So coming storm. I feel like that makes sense. But what the poem is telling, or asking, or suggesting, or saying the clouds are doing, or should do, is leave, so that at least on the sea there can be dancing refuse of stars glittering in the midnight tides that are have yet to turn super violent. I mean, we already know that the red scrolled foam is heaving up, but maybe before the storm is fully upon us, we can have our refuse of beautiful glittering stars in the midnight tides, which I feel like that's very indicative of the empathy. It's like, and especially since it doesn't even it's not even telling the clouds to stay far away. It's saying go to your nests. I didn't even make this connection when I made my original post. It says go to their nests, which would presume they're close by. I mean, wouldn't assume the nests are far. That kind of imagery to me indicates that they're just sitting and waiting. It's not telling them to leave permanently, because how can they? This coming storm is inevitable. It's a convergence. It's something that permeates Malazan. And I just feel like it speaks to the empathy, because it's basically it's asking, it's saying that before everything goes bad, before this Reaper's Gale truly appears on these midnight tides, we should have a little bit of a somber reflection, maybe, of the stars, which I think it's quite beautiful imagery, and that's how I took it, for quite a somber and depressing poem for the most part. I think that that's pretty good. Um, this is the latter half of the poem now. "Gather drawn and swell tight your tempest. Lift like scaled heads from the blind depths all your effulgent might in restless roving eyes." Something interesting about this poem is that, aside from the first line, it follows for the beginnings, it goes capitalized, not capitalized, not capitalized, in that 1 2 2 cadence, which I feel like is very important, because I feel like it's basically grouping the things together, like "black waves slide under the sheathed moon upon the shore, a silent storm will untamed heaves up from the red scrolled foam," which is different from the next part, which says, "Scud to your mountain nest, you iron clouds, to leave the sea its dancing refuse of stars on this host of salty midnight tides." Um, one, two, it's in pairs of three, or it's in trios. So this next part I read it all together. "Gather drawn and swell tight your tempest, lift like scaled heads from the blind depths all your effulgent might in restless roving eyes." More sea imagery, and then I feel like "gather drawn and swell tight your tempest" is because this coming storm is really starting to get close, and it's approaching. Apologies. I mean, Icarium Life Stealer. It's getting closer to the time when the champions are to fight, and then obviously the quest for the soul of Scavendari Blood Eyes coming to its end, a bloody conclusion at the refugium with the other Talana Obviously, the three sisters Sister Dusk, Sister Dawn, and Sister Dapple. Sheltathalor, Sukul Ankadu, and Menendor. They're all coming together for this final thing that they're doing near Rudalal and with Quickbend and all them. And the Malazans are slowly getting closer to this final confrontation on Lether. I mean, at this point in the book, I don't know if it's before or after. It is before, but pretty soon after this, we see our first like major Malazan death. Uru Hela, that Kenril Ah Demon Prince, takes that two-handed, long-shafted axe and just completely cuts her in half. Terrible. That was some of the strongest imagery in the books. One of my favorite scenes. Super sad. I mean, Urhela wasn't, I would say, too big of a character, but it was sad to see, one of our heavies leave us, and especially in such a violent way after she was trying to do something not too bad. I mean, she was just going to ask for water and then kindly suggest the residents uprise against the Tysteta. I mean, what can you do? They're soldiers. Um, they got to do what they got to do, and sadly, Kenra Demon Princes came in and stomped them. And it's even sadder because the Kenra Demon Princes um were living there for peace. They didn't want to fight anymore. Makes it all the stranger that they decided to come out swinging. But such is the nature of people from Geralt Gamelon, I think is what it's called. I don't think it's called Geralt Gamelon. I don't know what the Warren's called. It's not listed in the glossaries. This book doesn't even have a glossary of the Warrens. Um, I don't think the rest do either. I think that's going to make it a little difficult to read from time to time, but I think I'll manage. I know most of them. I know Rashan. Um, I think Rashan's Darkness, but it's born out of. It's like a. Forget actually. Never mind. Maybe I do need the glossaries, but the next one word that's particularly interesting is talking about scaled heads from the blind depths. Obviously, the sea imagery, like I said, continuing, but all your effulgent might. The word effulgent. Excuse me. Apologies, I just accidentally tapped out. But something really interesting about the word effulgent, and that means sort of glowing, coruscating. Well, it doesn't mean coruscating, but it means like glowing light. And the end of Reaper's Gale, definitely a lot of effulgent things going on. I mean, dragonfire, scaled heads rising up from the depths. I mean, that could immediately indicate dragon heads to you. Dragons, fish, obviously. I mean, we got that. But effulgent might. I mean, what Akarium does at the end of the book, the entirety of Letheris is shaken, and giant clouds of coruscating lightning and like a plasmic sorcery going off. I mean, that's pretty powerful. And that's definitely foreshadowing for that. It's foreshadowing for Beak's sacrifice, which is one of the greatest scenes, most emotional scenes that is written in this series up until that point. His death was, I mean, it's okay to die as long as it's with because they're my friends. It's okay to die alongside them because they're my friends. I mean, that's some of the most emotional writing I've ever read in anything. I mean, I'm not too well read in general. I mostly stick to fantasy and sci-fi. I'm reading a Leo Tolstoy book after this, but I mean, it was really powerful, and I mean, especially the magic he uses was really powerful. I mean, he used so much that it's a dead space in magic, just like the Ritual of Talon is the only other time we've seen it, to my knowledge, in the series is the Ritual of Talon, except for Otateral Dust. But I mean, and we know that that was an explosion of magic itself. But I mean, I don't think Otateral Dust itself is anti-magic. It doesn't create dead spaces, permanent ones anyway, like what Beak did. Um, so and I mean, he turns all of the Bone Hunters golden. It's not just Gessler and Stormy anymore. Gessler. I always say Gessler. Which was great. I mean, that was a great scene. That's definitely foreshadowing to that effulgent thing that's happening, which is really interesting. And then what else we got? And then I don't think it was described as effulgent, but it could remind you of the torrent of spirits that Samar Dev releases when Karsa Orlong has the sword stabbed into him, and he decides to leave for the God's realm after killing Roulette. One final death. Well, technically, he has one more death after that. You know. Mhm. Um, the next part goes, reel back, you tottering forests, this night. The black waves crash on the black shore to steal the flesh from your bony roots. And then this kind of breaks the rhythm of the poem because there's no 1 2 3 1 2 2 1 2 2 after this. It's just 1 2 2 2 2 2. Although the very last line's only 3 words, but I feel like that was separated for a reason to make the poem even better, which I think it does. Um, but reel back, you tottering forests this night. The black waves crash on the black shore to steal the flesh from your bony roots. Those next 3 parts, I mean, I think it's immediately indicative the storm has come. Ikariam is doing whatever he's doing with, if Karul can, why can't I? And the Bone Hunters have finally arrived in Letheris. I mean, the war's kicking off after Beak's sacrifice. The Teist Eder are coming home. I mean, financial ruin in Lether. Oh, I don't even know how I forgot to mention that. Financial ruin in Lether. Karos Invictad is the richest man in Letheris. No longer is it Rautus Hivenar, leader of the Liberty Consign. It is the head of the secret police who stole his money from the people and intends to give it back to them only to satiate their hunger for bloodlust at the end of the book. And then even then, the entire time he's thinking to himself, I will win it all back. But I mean, how is he going to? The Lether Empire is on the brink of financial ruin. Teho and Bug have ruined the economy. What a great plot line. Teho and Bug, some of the funniest characters in the series, doing some of the most serious stabs to the heart in the series. I mean, they have gutted the Lether economy. I mean, they mention that they don't even want to mint new coins because if the amount that's been lost starts flooding back in, it's going to cause a crash everywhere. I mean, they mention it the second that Bug's construction goes down, it's going to create a domino effect, and company after company after company is just going to start crashing down. It's going to destroy everything that this kingdom has built over the last several thousand years they've been stuck on this continent. But that's definitely a coming storm as well. I forgot to mention that. But everything's coming in. The force needs to totter and reel back. I mean, the tottering to me can also indicate how precarious the situation on Lether is. I mean, we have the economic ruin. We have even stuff that's unknown, like the silent storm. We have all the stuff going on in the refugium. We have the All Dawn and the All are advancing, and it seems as if Bivat is going to win, but at what cost? It seems like it's going to be severe. And there's that secret army that no one knows about. That obviously we find out at the end. It's the Grey Swords the whole time, and I mean, uh, Hanradi Kalag and Kreta Bivat come to the conclusion immediately that they're not going to leave that battle alive. They might have beat the All, but what are they going to do? And I mean, the Silent Storm is also. Oh, I forgot to mention this. The Silent Storm is probably foreshadowing for the situation happening in Kolance to the east. We don't know anything about what's happening in Kolance Kingdom. The Kingdom of Kolance, I think, is what it's called. We don't know anything. I think it's mentioned once that the situation there is bad and the Letheri don't even want to have anything to do with it. But it's obviously interesting because we got to think that's where Red Mask was exiled to. We don't even know if that's the real Red Mask. I mean, we assume that he went there because that's where the Ketra, the Kachain Shamal, ended up going. And I said it Kachain Shamale for the longest time. I'm so glad I got over that. But that's where the Kachain Shamal go and are from. So there's obviously a lot of stuff going on there, and then we have the Sky Fortresses and the Bone Hunter that were moving through the Imperial Warren. They might be going there too. That's my theory. And there's a lot of talk about the Kachain Naruk. Those are the Kachain Naruk in those Sky Fortresses that kill Ganag, I think. I think is what her name was. She was a Jaghut in the Bone Hunters, and she gets ripped to shreds by Short Tails. So, that's terrible. That's that coming storm. But the situation's precarious. That's what tottering force meant to me. And to steal the flesh from your bony roots, I mean, it's going to rip the ground up. Coruscating thunder, lightning, the powerful magic of Beak, of Ikarium soul, life stealer. Everything that's going on, of sin, of what's happening in Fent Reach in the north. Uh, I mean, the events themselves, I mean, they could figuratively steal the uh, flesh from your roots. I mean, what is happening on Lether. It's an event. It's crazy. And then the final lines. Death comes, shouldering aside in cold legion, in a marching wind, this dread, this blood, this reaper's gale. I think that that's fairly obvious imagery. Death is coming. And I mean, it's a reaper's gale, what's happening at the end of this book. Shouldering aside in cold legion, in a marching wind, even though those are two separate lines, the ending of one and the beginning of one, to me it indicates how ruthless, how careless, how almost systematic everything that's happening in this book is, from time to time. I mean, it does not care. It's cold. There's shouldering people aside. It has cold feelings, cold shoulder. It does not care. It is legion. In a marching wind. I mean, it's like, I mean, literally marching armies and whatnot, but also the death itself, like the concept of it, is just marching upon these people. It is dreadful. It is bloody. It is a reaper's gale. And that's my analysis. I mean, the amount of characters that die at the end of this book, I mean, you just redirect to the dramatis personae. I mean, it's literally everybody. Karis and Vic dead. I mean, characters that you might want to see dead die as well, but characters that you don't want to see die, or at least that I didn't want to see die as well. I mean, I think everybody loves Troll Sengar. I mean, you can't tell me that Troll Sengar is not cool. Uruhela is kind of the first like major death that happens here. Major. I think she was a major death. Very sad to me. Stormy was distraught afterward, but as I think it was Gessler told him, you can't be, or Fiddler might have told him, this is war. You can't make promises that people are going to live. People are going to die. These are brutal battles. I mean, look at that scene between when they start charging Letheris. The Letheri line is holding, and they don't know what these clay pots they're throwing at them is. Oh, what are a couple of rocks going to do? That soldier gets knocked on his feet, sees another soldier lose her arm, and starts screaming at him, and then feels blood on his nape, goes to feel, and he reaches into his own brain, touches it, and the feeling in his back goes away, and he's like, oh, if I reach deeper, then maybe I can fix myself. But whatever he touched next killed him. Terrible. A Reaper's Gale. So many people died. Troll Sengar, Venet Sithad. I think Orban Truthfinder dies. Or no, Letter Annex dies. Orban Truthfinder bought his life, I believe. Obviously, the all end up dying. Tak the Younger. Dang, what a sad death. All the way from Gardens of the Moon. Makes his way all the way to gets teleported to Morn. Travels with Lady Envy. Or Lady Spite, no, Lady Envy. And Onos to Ulan. Becomes best friends with the first sword of the first empire. And, what a great, all the way from northern Genabakis to southern Genabakis. And I'm pretty sure he's from Quantali originally. So from Quantali to northern Genabakis to southern Genabakis, all the way to the Panion Domain, just to get tortured forever by Jagha, who are thought to be mostly extinct. But the real torture is coming at the hands of Chain Shamal Matron Mother, undead. And it's like, I forget if she's undead. Maybe it's just her kids. But I mean, those were thought to be extinct forever. They're basically dinosaurs. I mean, they're barely even known by most people. They're one of the founding races. They're truly elder. And then dies and gets reborn as Tak Annister, child of the Dead Seed, and then goes all the way to this continent he's never heard of called Lether, just to have his army betrayed, and then taken back up, and then he sacrifices himself to save a couple of kids in the most badass way. One arrow and 3 mages dead. The crippled god has no influence on Tak. He's too strong. Although it seems Tog and Fandre still wanted that eye in the end, which is definitely interesting. But a lot of characters die at the end. That's how I interpreted the poem. I know that was a really long-winded explanation. I know I reiterated a lot and just restated a lot of stuff. I apologize. I do that a lot, but I've never made a video before as well, so I'm a little new to this. But I appreciate you watching if you made it all the way to this. I know that the analysis might have not been quite on the literary side. It was more just drawing parallels between the book. I went a little into the the imagery of it being dark, effulgent. Uh, but I feel like this poem was mostly relating to actual events that happened in the text. It was definitely foreshadowing, and it was great. This is a great book. Reaper's Gale. I see that a lot of people don't like it nearly as much as the other books, and maybe it's recency bias because I just finished it. But Reaper's Gale is definitely one of my favorite in the series. I might even put this above Memories of Ice. I know that's probably a crazy take. People love Memories of Ice. It's a great book, don't get me wrong. I love Memories of Ice too. I mean, call me a fanboy. Every Malazan book for me has been a 10 out of 10. I was hooked from the beginning of Gardens of the Moon. Maybe I'm a little too easy to please, but I mean, or maybe Erickson's writing is just that good. I mean, Steven Erickson's writing. I mean, this is just it's great. This is peak fiction. This is peak writing. Out of everything I read, I had to read some stuff for college, and this was always my favorite. I actually did a PowerPoint for one of my college classes explaining why you should read the Malazan Book of the Fallen series. I love it. And I love Reaper's Gale. It's a great book. And I love The Coming Storm by Reffer. I really hope that you guys could, maybe you took away something from this that you didn't notice about this poem. Maybe this is your first time getting a closer examination. I know other people have made videos about it and posts about it. I didn't watch too many. I just read that post online, um, the subreddit. But yeah, no. So I hope you enjoyed. 46 minutes, I know maybe a little long-winded for that short of a poem, but I had a lot to say about it, and I had a lot to re-say about it over and over again. But I feel like every line of this could relate to so many things that it's kind of difficult to talk about it without wanting to mention everything. And at least for me, maybe I'll work on being more concise in the future. But thanks for watching. If you did, this is my first video, obviously. Thanks a lot, and I hope you enjoyed. And I'll move on to Toll the Hound soon, and hopefully I'll make more videos about that and other Malazan stuff, and hopefully I'll read Return of the Crimson Guard soon. I was supposed to read it between Reaper's Gale and Toll the Hound, but the Hounds were calling me, so but we'll get to Return of the Crimson Guard soon. I'll get to Return of the Crimson Guard soon enough. But I hope you have a good day. Hope you enjoyed, and goodbye.